very warm welcome to the next part of the special series on the factors affecting the Indian monsoons. In this part, we will analyze the role of the weakening AMOC or the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation and the role of atmospheric rivers as factors affecting the Indian monsoons. First, let's understand what is the AMOC. In order to understand that, let's understand what is the thermohaline circulation of the earth, how the ocean water actually circulates. Then we'll analyze a particular part of the thermohaline circulation which is on the verge of collapsing, and how a set of factors have now initiated which are leading to the formation of something very significant which is having a global impact on the weather, which is affecting the Indian monsoons as well. We are all aware that the winds within the tropical areas, the trade winds, the easterlies, move from east to west. They push the warm surface waters from east to west. All of those warm waters, they collide with the continental coasts of the, you can say, the east coast of continents. All of that water, all the water in the tropical areas, under the effect of easterlies, that warm surface water is being pushed from east to west. Upon colliding with the continental coasts, it deflects to higher latitudes. Then it comes under the effect of the westerlies, which push all of this warm water to higher latitudes. Once all of this warm water reaches near the polar areas, that water starts to cool down. Once the water starts to cool down, it starts to freeze as well. Now, when salt water freezes, when it reaches the polar areas, they start precipitating the salt. How is that happening? Let me show it to you. Suppose these are the water molecules and this is the salt contained within them. Now, when water freezes, it starts generating crystals, and when it generates into crystals, it starts to occupy greater volume. Because ice is less dense, it is in a crystalline form. Now, when seawater freezes, these crystals occupy tighter spaces and they start precipitating all the salt present between them. Which is why when seawater freezes, upon reaching the polar areas, they precipitate salt. When they precipitate salt in the polar areas, all of this salt is added in cold water. That cold dense water starts sinking rapidly in the polar areas. Let me show you an animation for this, or rather an experiment conducted by a professor from the University of Liverpool. Warm waters from the tropical areas reaches the polar areas where it freezes, it precipitates salt. All that salt is added into even colder water. That cold dense salt water starts sinking near the polar areas and it exerts a downward push. This is called the force of downwelling. We are all aware that water cannot be compressed. For example, take a bathtub full of water, and if you take a mug and you press at one edge of the bathtub, the water will overflow. It will not compress. Similarly, as soon as a force of downwelling initiates, it initiates a series of motion within the ocean water. All of that cold dense water starts circulating along the ocean floor. In areas, in the tropical areas, the trade winds are offshore over the continents. Offshore means originating from land and moving towards the water bodies. In such areas of offshore winds, it creates an upward pull. For example, if the surface water is being pushed away, it will create an upward pull. So both these offshore winds and this force of downwelling, they force the water to start rising along these offshore wind coastlines. This is called the force of upwelling. Because of all this downwelling and upwelling, the entire ocean water keeps circulating very well within our oceans, and this is called the thermohaline circulation of the earth, the oceanic conveyor belt. Warm surface water from the tropical areas reaches the higher latitudes where this salt water starts to cool down. When the salt water cools down, it starts to freeze as well. Once it freezes, it precipitates salt. Salt rich cold dense water starts flowing as cold dense cold, you can say cold ocean currents at the ocean floor, initiating a conveyor belt. This is called the earth's thermohaline circulation. Why thermohaline? Because it is dependent upon temperature and salinity, therefore thermohaline. The part of this thermohaline circulation which exists within the Atlantic Ocean, the part of this thermohaline circulation which exists within the Atlantic Ocean is called the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC. In this mechanism, the key point to be understood is, for this thermohaline circulation to keep running, the key ingredient was formation of ice. We are all aware that right now glaciers are not building, they are melting, which is why instead of precipitation of salt at the polar areas, what is taking place? Melting of glaciers. The force of downwelling at the polar areas is almost negligible right now. Since the force of downwelling has reduced considerably, the entire circulation of water is about to stop. This thermohaline circulation at present is at its weakest. There are two set of researches for this. The first one says that this thermohaline circulation is about to collapse as soon as next year, whereas the next set of research, it says that certainly it is the weakest in the past 1000 years, but we cannot fix a date as to when it will collapse. There are many other researches as well. The bottom line is that this circulation is extremely weak right now. The ocean water is circulating very slow. Weakening AMOC means the entire circulation of ocean water within our oceans is slowing down. As soon as this circulation weakens, which is right now, it will move much slower within the ocean waters. When ocean water will move slower within our oceans, it will spend more time under the sun. The longer water remains under the sun, the warmer it will get, and slow moving water is gaining tremendous heat. Now let me add a few more points to it. Let's build up this concept. So we have established one thing, that the AMOC is weakening. Poor circulation of water means slowing down of water. Now this slowing down of water has had many effects. The first thing to be observed over here is that there are certain parts of the surface waters that we are interested in. Like for example, this part gives us El Nino or La Nina. Similarly, this part gives us Indian Ocean Dipole. Likewise, this part of the Atlantic gives us another cycle called Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation, which is a 35 to 40 year cycle. Waters in this part of the Atlantic remain warm for 35 to 40 years, and water in this part will be cooler than normal for the other years. This part of the Pacific gives us another cycle called Pacific Decadal Oscillation, 20-25 year old cycle. I'll use all of this information right now. As soon as the ocean circulation weakens, the water will slow down instantaneously everywhere on Earth. Let's analyze this plot. This is a map of the North and Central Atlantic, AMO, Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation. This is a map of the North Pacific, Pacific Decadal Oscillation. This is a map of Central and South Pacific, El Nino, La Nina. We are all aware about the definition of weather. Weather and climate. Climate is the average weather conditions observed in an area for 35 to 40 years. Yes, it is based upon this cycle of AMO. Observe this very carefully. In 2000, the AMO entered a positive phase, meaning thereby North and Central Atlantic Ocean, the temperature was above normal. This is that 35 to 40-year-old cycle. We entered a warm phase in 2000, which marked the beginning of a weaker thermohaline. Now, as soon as the oceanic circulation will slow down, we will see a slower motion of water. We will tend to see some changes immediately across the world. Observe this very carefully. In 2000, what was the change in the North Pacific? In the North Pacific, suddenly we see the negative Pacific Decadal Oscillation initiating. What is a negative Pacific Decadal Oscillation? It means that water in this part of the Pacific, the temperature was below normal, meaning thereby there was a core of warm water in the North Pacific. But more importantly, simultaneously in 2000, what was observed in the Central and South Pacific? Triple dip La Nina. Poor circulation of water, 3 consecutive years of La Nina. This is only to establish that as soon as some changes observed in the thermohaline, we see a spontaneous and rapid change across the earth in the oceans. Now, linking one more point before I link it to the monsoons, we are all aware that in the mid 1800s, the European nations underwent their, you can say, industrial revolution. They released a lot of carbon dioxide. When carbon dioxide mixes with rainwater, it produces a weak acid called carbonic acid. That carbonic acid adds into the ocean water, and that is called ocean acidification. Once the water sinks in the polar areas and it becomes part of the thermohaline circulation, the same body of water may take 100 or 200 years to resurface. As per NASA, the body of water which sank during the mid 1800s is only now beginning to resurface. When that water is now resurfacing, that water is heating abundantly because the ocean water is circulating slower. Slower circulating water is remaining under the sun for longer, therefore it is getting hotter. Over here, we need to understand one thing, that why are cold drinks called cold drinks? It is directly linked to what is going on right now. Suppose we have a body of water. What do you mean by cold water? Cold water means that the molecules are vibrating less. Lesser vibrating molecules are called cold. They are densely packed. They will not allow the gases to escape. Cold drinks are aerated, carbonated, which is why if they warm up, gases will escape. All that water containing that carbon dioxide, which is called fossil carbon, is only now resurfacing. The surface water is heating up. Once it heats up, the molecules are vibrating more and the ocean is now releasing all that fossil carbon, which is why the oceans themselves have become a source of greenhouse gas, that is carbon dioxide. Moreover, there has been a latest research that under stress conditions for forests, due to abundant carbon dioxide, instead of photosynthesis, forests in the tropical areas are performing photorespiration, meaning thereby they are absorbing oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide, as if we needed any more of a greenhouse gas. Carbon dioxide being pumped out from forests and water is leading to global warming. We have not even added the anthropogenic or human induced carbon dioxide. All of this additional carbon dioxide means warmer air. Warm air and warm water means more evaporation and more water carrying capacity. More water carrying capacity in warm air means it is going to absorb more water vapor. More water vapor means more greenhouse gas. Warm water evaporate more, warm air absorbs more. The more the water vapor it absorbs, the more warmer the air gets. The warmer the air gets, the more it can evaporate, and the cycle continues. These warm surfaces are developing intense warm air masses which are so full of moisture that they are being called atmospheric rivers. As if this was not enough, all the permafrost areas are melting rapidly, exposing all of that methane which is trapped underground. All of that methane is leaking into the atmosphere. Methane in the short term is 80 times more harmful than carbon dioxide in causing greenhouse effect in the short term, which is why the Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the rest of the world anyway. All of these warm air masses carry so much moisture, like for example one such warm air mass which causes rainfall along the west coast of USA. That air mass is called the Pineapple Express, which is one atmospheric river. With respect to the Indian monsoons, when we consider different phases, positive IOD, negative IOD, in these areas, the moisture in the air is so intense that they themselves are acting like atmospheric rivers. All of this is because of the weakening AMOC. Slower circulating water is getting warmer. Warmer air and warm water add abundant moisture in the air. Now the fact is, these extremely warm air masses are very difficult to saturate. What do we mean by that? Unless that warm air mass is going to saturate. Saturation means when the air carries maximum moisture that it can carry. Unless and until that air mass reaches saturation and it cools below the dew point, rain cannot take place. Therefore, these warm moisture laden air masses are not causing rainfall because they can carry more moisture. Which is why the only time that they lead to rainfall is when more moisture is added to them. For example, Arabian Sea branch, Bay of Bengal branch, coupled with western disturbances of summers, when they lead to that tremendous amount of moisture, they lead to heavy flooding in northwest India. That is the role of atmospheric rivers. Immense moisture laden air mass. The only way to yield rainfall from them is to add more moisture, which is why we are in for another season of flooding, and that flood is not only responsible because of these atmospheric rivers but also because of the melting glaciers of the third pole. This is all for this part. Stay tuned for further information. Thank you.